Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in Wasteland Express Delivery Service by Pandasaurus Games. My copy is with a friend, so I'm going to talk about it using a little printout here of my favorite mechanism. This is a game, essentially it's a pick up and deliver game set in kind of a Mad Max style universe. A distant future universe that isn't so good. And you all players competitively work for the same delivery service. You're driving around the board, you're buying stuff, you're delivering stuff, you're doing different actions at outposts, and you're engaging with these NPC factions that move around the board. And I say NPC, although really they are controlled by different players at different times in the game, depending on where your truck ends up, where your vehicle ends up at the end of your turn. Or if you might go after a specific truck to try to steal their cargo. It's not the other players' trucks, it's these NPC style trucks. As you know, if you watch this channel, I do not like action checklists. I think there are better ways to convey actions both visually and thematically in games than having a checklist of actions. And Wasteland Express is the perfect example of how you can have a game with actions, action points essentially, conveyed in a thematic and mechanically interesting way. And that is on the player mat. So in Wasteland Express, every round you're going to take 5 turns. Each turn is represented by one of these gears. And on your turn, you're going to move the gear up following these arrows until you decide you want the gear to stop. So for example, right now, if on my turn I wanted to first move, I would move a gear up to the 3 space and move my truck up to 3 spaces. And then if I had other stuff to do, I could continue to move that gear up to, say, combat. I could fight one of those NPC trucks, or I could move it over here and do a purchase action. My finger isn't following my hand well, but you could do a purchase action if there's one available. You could do a deliver action if there's one available. You can see that on my previous turn I took a deliver action, so now there's only one left. Or I could do an outpost action, one of 2. These are all limited over here. And so if on a previous turn, say I took the purchase action, I can only do that once per round. I'm limited there, which is, I assume, came out through playtesting. Maybe they found that letting players purchase too much or too often hurt the game in some way, and so they limited it. But they limited it in a really interesting way. Limitations are often good. Rather than letting a player always do the purchase action, it gives me an interesting choice. Like, when this round do I want to purchase something? What's the best time for me to do it, knowing that I can only do it once? One thing about this arrow system that I also really, really like is that you can see how there's a 3, and it's a little hard to see, a 3, a 4, and a 5. These are your gears. This is how far you can move on your turn. And you always have to move your action token up to the lowest space when you move. However, I mentioned that you can move your token up here and then you can choose to continue to move that token. But if you want, you can just leave it there. So on my turn, I can move a token up here, I can move up to 3 spaces and leave the token there, not do anything else, and wait until my next turn. And on my next turn, if I want, by doing that, it enables me to move farther on my next turn, because the only open space here, the lowest open space, is the 4 then. So if I move my token up on my next turn, I'll be moving up to 4 spaces instead of just 3. I could even leave that there. On the next turn, I can move 5. The idea here is really, really interesting, because thematically, the idea is that you've gotten your truck moving, your truck is actively moving forward, and you can either stop. And if you stop, then of course you have to get that momentum up again to start moving faster again. Or if you just never stopped moving, you just keep moving and you move faster and farther because you're already moving. You already have that momentum. I love that thematic integration. Overall, this is just a brilliant way of conveying your actions in a game. It's visually and aesthetically appealing, it's intuitive, and it offers you interesting choices through its limitations and through this almost a tech tree feel. It almost feels a little bit like you're moving through a tech tree on each individual turn, which is awesome. I love tech trees, and I love the branching paths offered by this little mini in-turn tech tree. Really, really cool version of an action selection system. If you played Wasteland Express Delivery Service, or if you have a pick up and deliver game with a really clever mechanism that you love, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Thanks.